Am I the idiot for telling my wife that my son is not a replacement for our dead baby? I know the title sounds really cruel, and maybe it was, and I'm wrong, but I don't mean for it to be. I, 37, have known my wife Janica, 39, since we were both in high school, and I've loved her since I was 13. When I was 21, I was just a boy when my father died and my life spiraled and I broke up with Janica. I had to grow up fast to support my grandparents, mom and sister. Even though we came from a rich family, I had to prove I could run the family. I made mistakes, and one of those was not treating my new girlfriend Ayana at the time properly. I neglected her, cheated on her, yelled at her, and was a terrible person who tried to justify his bullshit by saying I miss my dad. I still miss him every day. After I got therapy and realized how wrong I treated her, I tried to reach out and apologize, but this was 2005. It was easy to disappear. She was gone. Janica and I have 2 daughters aged 8 and 5. Early last year we were going to have a 3rd child, but my wife was in a car accident involving black ice late into her pregnancy, and our son died before he could be born. For a year my wife cried herself to death every night. We have been to therapy for individuals and couples, but it did not help. Then in January I learned about my son Arian, 15. His mom died a month prior from some cancer, and his grandparents could not afford to support him, so they wanted a DNA test. But the boy looks just like my father, so of course he's my son. I took him in without the test and my wife latched onto him. She showered him with gifts, made him special lunch every day, our daughters get cafeteria food, and tried to help him with homework to the point that our daughters got jealous. It really cuts me that I wasn't there for him. That I couldn't show him love, be there to change his diapers, help him when he was sick, take videos of him. I want to blame his mom, but he loved her, and she's dead, so I can't. We've been to therapy together, just he and I, and last week it broke my heart when he told the therapist he wished he died instead of his mom, because I felt the same way when my dad died, and he feels Janica is trying to replace his mom. I know my wife isn't trying to do that. So yesterday before bed we had a talk which became a fight after I told her that Arian is not a replacement for our dead son, and he's his own person. She got very angry at me, called me an idiot, and hasn't talked to me all morning. She's at her parents' with Arian right now, and isn't coming back later in the day. I don't know if I was wrong and should apologize. I'd bring it up in therapy, but the shrink is on vacation. I'm sorry for the big backstory, it's just so you can understand where I came from when I said what I did. I was trying to protect Arian so I don't feel wrong, but I didn't want to hurt Janica. Was I really an idiot to say that to her? Edit. Things have happened and the situation isn't as bad as I thought it was. I will post an update here in a week or so. Maybe I'll keep responding to comments until then though. Now for a few comments before the update. That is a lot to unpack. You stated yourself that you pushed his mother away with your prior behavior, so wanting to blame her for not being part of your son's life prior to this is you're the idiot move. There had to be a better way to broach this subject, and certainly a more empathetic way. Obviously you are no stranger to therapy. Why hasn't family therapy been brought up as an option? Clearly there needs to be better communication between all of you, and probably a clearing of the air is necessary. Then the poster responds with, I know I'm wrong to want to blame her. I was such a terrible person to her. But I can't just lose that feeling as much as I want to wish it away. I offered full family therapy to my son, but he refused, and when I insisted it seemed like he would cry, so I told him we'd continue just me and him as long as he wanted. Comment 2. You're the idiot. You've conflated 2 unrelated matters, a dead child which you don't seem to show any emotion about, and a woman working very hard to welcome a teenage boy into the family, to actively work against the negative stereotype of stepmother. What an amazing woman. Your comment was mean. And you sound jealous of your wife. If Arian has an issue, beyond sharing his feelings in a therapy session, then it sounds like your wife is capable and considerate enough to work through it with him. Now for the update. So it's been a bit, Christmas passed and things have gotten a lot better. For people wondering why Janica took Arian to her parents, he likes being there. Her parents remind him of his grandparents. As for Arian's name, we're Brown, it's common. It's not his real name, but I didn't think twice about using it. After reading the initial comments I realized how badly I messed up and took my daughters with me to my in-laws. My wife was with Arian in a bedroom, and he'd had a breakdown. He was crying really bad in her arms saying he was sorry, and he wanted his mom back over and over again. It scared me cause this was me after my dad died. Apparently Janica tried to talk to him about her smothering him, and it triggered him. We got him to calm down and go to sleep before we had our talk. I apologized right away for what I said to Janica. I told her I was too scared about Arian and too stupid to think about what I said. She pointed out to me she knows I'm stressed as it's my father's death anniversary this month, but it wasn't an excuse for what I said no matter how out of character it was. She admitted she let grief for our baby get the best of her for a while, but pointed out I repressed all my grief to the point where I act like it wasn't also my baby. I wanted to say she was wrong, but she isn't. Some of you realize that, and you don't even know me. I admitted I don't know what to do and would do whatever she thought was best. She decided we would restart our couples therapy so we can properly process our grief. Thankfully, she forgave me cause I guess after nearly 25 years she can tell I'm really sorry. Janica agreed we couldn't let the girls feel envious of Arian. So, when school comes back I'll wake up early with her to make lunch for everyone, we'll help everyone with homework together during a study hour, and anything else too. I see now it's not that Janica focused on Arian over the girls but that I didn't step up to help her give them all equal time. As for Arian, he's agreed to let Janica join our therapy sessions and hopefully soon the girls too. On Christmas, I got him a big portrait of his mother, and had Janica sign it as being from her. I think I reassured him that she isn't trying to replace his mother cause he gave her a huge hug and said thank you mom after opening it. I hung it up in his room by his bed. He was also happy when Janica asked about taking him clothes shopping for family photos, which he refused to be in before. He seemed happier as I'm writing this. He's playing with his sisters on their new PS4. I know it'll take time but I want him to stay happy and know he's loved. I want him to be a better man than I am and I know I need to be a better man for Janica. So I guess thanks guys, reading your comments was the kick in the ass I needed. Comment 1. To state it bluntly, you have a lot of issues to sort through, but you absolutely deserve credit for having enough self-awareness to recognize this, a willingness to proactively address it through therapy, and enough humility to admit when you frick up. That makes you a better person than 99% of the assholes who post here. I respect it. Comment 2. It's so nice reading about people like you, who had an issue, worked through it, and came out stronger and closer as a family. You are all great for communicating maturely and putting an effort in uplifting each other so that everyone gets to have a happy relationship with one another. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for telling my wife she is neglecting our son? I, 23, male, am married to my wife, Dana, 25, female. I work and she takes care of the house and our son, James, almost 3. I work every day from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m., sometimes later depending on the shift. Before I go to work, I change and dress James. He is a light sleeper and wakes up to my alarm, and I try make sure he is all set for my wife to take care of him. I even lay out his lunch and snacks, so all she has to do is play with him and give him lunch. Well, over the last month or so I will come home to see James sitting in front of the TV, as my wife sits on the couch and reads. His diaper is almost always full. This makes me so mad, and I try to tell her in the nicest way possible that she needs to start playing with him, changing him at the very least. Well, 3 days ago I came home from work, with some KFC for us to eat, and James was in front of the TV, not changed, and not even fed. Let me repeat that. He was not fed lunch. She was on the couch reading. This put me over the edge. I simply couldn't believe it. Well, here is where I might be the idiot. I set the food down, filled a cup with cold water and poured it over her crotch, and told her that she couldn't have dinner. OFC, she started yelling and asked why. I pointed to my son. I told her that if our son was treated like this then she should at least know what it's like to be uncomfortable and unfed. She said that I would have no idea how hard it is to be a mom because I work all the time. I said, well, at least I take care of James, at least I don't neglect him. She said, fine, you are taking care of him then. And left. She's been staying with her moms, and all of her siblings have been calling me and telling me I need to apologize. And what an idiot I am for calling her neglectful and pouring water on her. Am I the idiot? What should I do? Edit, I am sure that he isn't being taken care of. Based on the fact that when I get home he is very hungry, and when I ask her if he has been fed and changed she will never give me a clear answer. It's always, he shouldn't need it. Or, isn't it okay for him to go a couple hours and even? I'm too tired for this conversation. Also, I love my wife. I know it probably doesn't seem like it, but I do. I want to help her but she just keeps saying I need to back off, and that she is perfectly fine and doesn't need any help. Now for a few comments before the update. Not the idiot. Tell her not to come back until she gets therapy because something is obviously wrong with her. You need to protect your son. Neglect is a form of abuse. Comment 2. Not enough info or everyone sucks here. I am astounded at the number of people who think this type of abusive behavior from a spouse is okay. This is new behavior, and OP doesn't seem to have made any meaningful attempt at conversation other than play with him. Change his diaper. Diapers fill up quickly. It doesn't necessarily mean he's been languishing in poop for hours. Also, sometimes kids won't eat. They eat when they want to eat. Was the kid crying and desperately hungry? If so, a major issue. If the prepared lunch wasn't eaten but the kid is still chilling happy as a clam, no issue. There's just not enough info, and it doesn't even feel like OP has ever bothered to use his words and find out. OP's wife may be neglectful. She may be abusive. She may be struggling with mental illness. She may be a jerk. She may be sick. She may be a lot of things. There's not enough info to make a call. Now for the update. I feel since some of my actions were affected by you guys, I should update you on the situation. So a couple days after I posted she came home, I let her get situated and then sat her down for a talk, what I should have done in the first place. I set some very clear boundaries. James has to be fed and played with, and she should only revive 30 minutes of TV a day. Then I asked if she was okay and what's been going on. She said that it has been incredibly hard for her to even get out of bed, and that on some days she just hates being a mom. This broke my heart. I told her that if we budget we can afford to get her therapy. We found a woman who looks like a good fit and her first session was yesterday. Already my wife seems to be doing better, so hopefully this keeps up. I also asked if she would like to get a job 1 to 2 days a week and I can take James on the days she works. She loved the idea and they were cute job hunting for her. Hopefully this will make things easier for my son and for her. Thank you all again. Comment 1. I'm glad there's a plan in action, but I wouldn't rest on your laurels. Continue monitoring your son because that was abuse that he was subjected to. But I'm glad your wife is getting therapy. Wish you all the best. Comment 2. This is great, but you also need to focus some time and energy on your son's development. A 3-year-old shouldn't be diaper dependent. He should be well and truly undergoing or finished potty training by now. The neglect has obviously impacted him, so it's important his needs are given priority too. Not being fed in a timely manner, etc. is definitely not great, but missing developmental milestones will have serious long-term implications. Am I the idiot for making my son do an after-school activity? All of my kids have done extracurricular activities. My oldest did cheerleading. My second drama. My youngest is in art. My 16-year-old, Seth, doesn't want to do his current activity anymore. I said, okay, what do you want to do instead? Seth said he doesn't want to do an activity anymore. I said that's not fair to everyone else, and he needs to pick something. He said he wants to play video games. I said okay, we'll find a video game club. He said no, he wants to stay home and play video games. I nixed that idea. Seth had an outburst and lost electronic privileges for the weekend. He's currently not talking to me. He called his mom on his brother's phone, and she emailed me to say I'm a jerk. His oldest brother thinks I need to communicate better. His other older brother thinks he's a spoiled brat, and I should punish him more. I just think he needs to do an enriching activity. Seth needs to develop social skills before he goes to college, or trade school or employment, or whatever he wants to do, and activities and clubs are a great way to do that. On the other hand, he's 16. So if he's not getting anything from it by now, should I save myself the expense and just let him do whatever he wants? Now for a few comments before the update. Not the idiot. But not because it isn't fair. Your almost adult needs to be gaining life skills right now. And those come from extracurricular or an after-school job. They do not come from going to school and then gaming for 8 hours. I'm down with the video game club, or esports, or whatever. He can find something that teaches social skills, competition, winning and losing gracefully, etc., that fits with his interests. That's how you become a full human, and he should then, after schoolwork and whatever chores are taken care of and his extracurricular/job is done, be allowed to frick off and game for pure enjoyment, because balancing your responsibilities with your free time is a huge life skill that a lot of kids I went to college with a few decades ago didn't master, and that is as big of a deal as any of it. Reframe your argument. And have a loving, two-way conversation about responsibilities and learning and balance and whatever. But don't use the fairness approach. Comment 2. You're the idiot. Some people are introverts. Let him be. Show interest in him. Play video games with him. High school is exhausting. He socializes all day. You need to adapt your parenting to each individual child, not apply the same rules to all of them. Sounds like one of his brothers is jealous though, so you might need to address that with that brother. Now for the update. After some back and forth with my son, we agreed on an activity for him. At first he said he would go with the part-time job option I suggested. When he realized most places wouldn't accept an employee working 1 4-hour shift a week, he gave up on that idea. Volunteering was also considered and discarded. Finally, he said he was going to learn his mother's language. She was never really around enough for him to pick it up from her. However, it is a part of his heritage and something he is interested in learning. So he's going to spend 15 minutes a day working on this language, which amounts to almost 2 hours a week, which is normal for an extracurricular. The online lessons he will be taking let him learn at his own pace, which appeals to him. We're also going back to family therapy to talk about the stress of a relationship ending and transitioning to adulthood. It'll be 6 sessions over 6 months. Seth is annoyed about this, but I think it will help us communicate better. Comment 1. Still don't get how video games are not an enriching activity. 90% of the skills of my today job came from the knowledge I collected from my interest in video games. My English made tremendous jumps because of games. I met my wife around some corners through video games. Our best friends too. Before my promotion, I went back to school and went from E to B in French, learning through series and video games, and even made my final exam on a video game from France which scored an A, 2. I read the earlier post and am happy to learn that the two of you are figuring something out. Learning something new like a language is a great activity, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed for the two of you. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to drop a like. It really helps the channel grow. See you next time.